Scooter.
And just, hey, here we go. Welcome to This Effen Show. I'm your Uncle Drew.
I'm Trans Dad, aka Spencer.
You know him, you love him, you can't get enough of him. We are
Well, I don't know
here.
about that.
That's the word on the street.
We'll see.
I read that in a bathroom somewhere.
No, I'm sure you did.
So, this is episode one of This Effen Show, where Spencer and I talk about whatever comes into our heads.
Yeah.
Um,
And, I feel bad. And
hmm,
we've talked about this. I feel bad that we don't have a little tagline like Trixie and Katja, but we can't steal theirs
we can't.
because that would be like copyright infringement. We'd get letters,
They would be mad.
cease and desist letters, and I'm not about that. I'd rather figure out a way to collaborate or come up with some other catchphrase. So, but maybe those of you listening to the show
Mhm.
could let us know what you think a catchphrase might be that we can use going forward. That would be helpful.
That would be helpful.
We'd appreciate that.
Also, for episode one, we don't have our intro music yet. Um,
No.
so we don't have our outro music. So these will come along. These are things we
So
need.
will graphics, all kinds of things will come.
It will. But for episode
We'll
one,
build it.
we will build it. We will build it, and they will come.
Yeah.
Also written about you in a bathroom wall somewhere. So,
It's
um,
well, that's probably more accurate.
so for this episode, what we wanted to do is just give you a brief glimpse into what we do, who we are, kind of what our vibe is. So we'll do a little intro, we'll do a little Q&A, a little get to know you, but really it's about setting the tone for what we want to do and inviting feedback. What questions do you have for us? What content would you like to hear from us? Because we know what we like, but we want to hear
Yeah,
what you all would like to hear from us. So,
definitely.
um, Spencer, do you want to take a couple minutes and just do a quick intro of who
Sure,
you are? And
sure. Um, so few things about me. So I'm a man of trans experience, hence trans. And then the dad part is that I'm a dad. I have a 19-year-old, which is hard to fathom that I have a 19-year-old.
nuts.
Um, Shocking to me. Um, and I'm also a leather daddy. So, and that I've been doing a lot longer than I've been a father. So, um, dad or daddy is a paradigm that I'm very familiar with and very comfortable with. And so I started doing these videos on TikTok and Instagram just to give you some general advice about life and um, some things related specifically to being transmasculine. Um, I spent 28 years practicing law and then decided that I really didn't want to do that anymore. And I've been basically doing personal coaching, whether for pay or not, for probably 40 years. So
Mhm.
I take everything that I know about life, lessons that I learned from my dad and my mom and my mentors, as well as the life experience and skills that I have both as an attorney, as activist, uh, doing particularly LGBTQ work, and and then I also do corporate trainings, that sort of thing, as well as business consulting for businesses that want to be more trans inclusive and just don't know where to start. Um, Other than that, what can I tell you? I was born in Sweden,
But
um, and came to the States when I was two. And but being Swedish is a big part of who I am. I grew up here in the States with three other expat families that we spent literally every holiday together. So my entire upbringing was still very Swedish, despite being in the States. So let's see what else. I have a partner who's wonderful and lovely and talented
This
in
is,
many, many ways.
I can vouch for this.
And yeah, and I guess that's it for now. More will be revealed.
Do
So
you
tell
love
us about you, Drew.
do you love IKEA? I just need to know.
Well, yes, and I
Okay.
can pronounce all the names of all the products.
Oh, that is a brag. That is a
It
brag.
is.
Yeah.
And, back in the day when IKEA first came to the States, the the instructions would come and there were more words in them than there are now. Now it's really just pictures.
Mhm.
Um, but there used to be words, but it was mostly written in Swedish, which was helpful to me,
Like easy,
not so
but
much
everyone's
to anybody
problem.
else.
Yeah.
But, you know,
Love it. Love it. All right. Me. I am a man who came into existence through a trans experience. That is a mouthful, but it seems to be working for me right now to explain who I am. It emphasizes the man part, and it just happens to be that I'm a man who got to this day through being trans. It informs who I am. It's undeniable. I'm proud of it. I'm grateful for it in some ways. It's a pain in the butt in the other ways, but it is who I am. I was raised Mormon in a pretty cool Mormon family. We weren't super conservative, pretty open minded, comparably. My mom was a cop, retired. She was a badass. She's no longer with us, but she was my rock. Um, I am a Navy veteran. I spent 8 years as an enlisted man, prior transition, but I still was enlisted man. Um, I have a education is in filmmaking and I have a master's in public administration. For many years, I worked in the animal care field. Got really burnt out with that. And a couple years ago, really was like, what am I doing? What am I doing? Where am I going? Figured out that what I also really loved doing was coaching, leadership development. Kind of had a breakdown where I tried to figure out what it is I'm doing and who I am and all of that, and realized that's what I do best. I call myself now either a spiritual coach or a channeled advice or intuitive guidance. It's deep into the woo woo. I get channeled information and I share it with people who need help. So now I live in California with my wife, Gina Bling, if there's any old Team Gina fans out there, and our two dogs. San Diego is where I would call home if I had my way. But right now we're in Northern California. So just do coaching, and I'm ready to do this. Ready to launch.
it's going to be fun.
Yeah,
I think we're going to have a good time. Well,
yeah,
so one of the things that you should all probably know is that the reason that we're even doing this show is that Drew and I have a Zoom call once a week, and we've been doing that for a while. And we realize that the conversations that we have are both deep and funny, and we thought that perhaps all of you would enjoy them as well.
yeah, yeah. Deep and funny. That's our tagline.
That might work.
Yeah.
That might work, deep and funny. Well,
Yeah.
that and the bald, the bearded, and the bountiful,
And the
and
incredibly attractive.
perhaps incredibly attractive. Well, at least for you.
Yeah. Oh well. Yeah.
Right. So, in terms of what we're going to talk about on this show going forward, it could literally be anything. It's whatever comes into our heads on any given week. Um, our conversations tend to stray. They're very stream of consciousness. So we might start talking about, say, uh, what? What could we start talking about?
We talk about sex a lot.
Well, we do talk about that a lot. But that might actually just lead us into talking about Drag Race, which we both love.
Yeah.
Um, or we might end up talking about politics, or we
Uh-huh.
might end up talking about history, or any number of things. Um, we tend to be, I think, both pretty well read. We are both very interested in the world, and we both watch a lot of media.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. This
So,
show covers this F and everything. So, but from a
indeed.
perspective of two trans men who happen to be a certain age and, certain history. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, we should actually talk about that.
Yeah.
Um, so you are how old?
I will be 51 next month.
And you transitioned how many years ago?
Coming up on 20, just under 20 years ago.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I am 60 and transitioned 28. It'll be 29 years soon, years ago.
Okay.
So,
So probably around the same age for each other, but just different. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Just 10 years apart.
Just 10 years apart. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we've known each other. Been trying to put my finger on when exactly it is that we met,
There's this
but it's got to
weird,
be 97-ish.
yeah, a little bit later than that. So there's this weird thing where Spencer was present at these milestones of my coming to understand who I was in a freaky deaky way, right? So the first, I was still technically still in the Navy, and I went down to Seattle to go to this discussion, a community discussion about trans identity, and this was 98 or 99. So I think it's probably
Must
early
have been
90.
98. Yeah. Either
It
late
might have been
98 or
early
early 90.
99. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and Spencer wasn't on the panel, but he was there with his partner at the time who was. So he got up and talked about what it's like to be a trans man in a relationship with a cis woman. So there was Spencer. This was the first trans man I ever saw that was around my age because the panel was kind of young. Right. And then, yeah, well, yeah. Then I go to do my official name change and I do it. And then I go to the clerk's counter to get my copies. And there's Spencer just there doing lawyer stuff, right? I didn't talk to him, I didn't say him, but I turned around, there he was. And then the first trans event I went to after taking T, and I don't remember where it was, but it was my first time going to a trans event on testosterone, and there was Spencer. So he's been stalking me energetically for a number of years. And then finally, I think I just went up to him and I was like, look, man, you, me, here we are. We should talk. And
Yeah.
so,
And it may have even been when you were working at Babeland.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Could be.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. You know.
yeah,
So in any event, we've known each other at least tangentially for a good long time.
yeah. Over
Yeah.
23 years, at least 24 years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, which is awesome. And I love the fact that we've lived in the same town. We've also both traveled quite a bit. And so we have some differing perspectives based on that as well.
yes,
Um,
yeah.
but we're going to do a round of 5 questions each. So we'll
Here we go.
alternate.
Okay.
You go first.
All right. We're going to start out easy, really easy. Some of these are trans related, some of them aren't. What is the question that you get most often as a trans man?
Question I get most often is how long did it take to grow that beard?
And the answer is,
It really has nothing to do with being trans. It just has to do with having a big beard.
yeah.
All right. So here's my first question for you.
Yes, sir.
What's the most embarrassing thing that's happened to you as a trans man?
Oh, okay. So stick with me. So at one point, I was in a study for people who don't have penises. I'll just say that, right? And it was a health study. It was a health study, right? And so I had to go in and it was just a volunteer. I just volunteered and they wanted trans men or cis women, right? So I'm volunteering and I go in and they're talking about history, right? And they're talking about pH balance of some body parts that we
Hmm.
have, right? And so they're like, yeah, trans men's pH tends to differ from cis man. And I said, um, or from cis women. And I said, well, what do cis guys? What's their pH? And this whole panel of nurses and doctors looked at me, and finally somebody said, they don't have vaginas. And it didn't even occur to me. It didn't even occur to me. And so that was the dumbest thing I've ever said, representing the trans community, was asking what the pH balance of a cis man's genitals is. So that was dumb. That was dumb. I didn't even think.
Right up,
Yeah.
this is right up there with powder keg, which is a story that we'll save for another show.
Not the same thing as a pony keg, y'all. Not the same thing as a
No,
pony keg.
definitely not.
No.
Definitely not.
Um, all right. Question number 2, Spencer. What do you wish you knew in your first year of transition that you know now?
Hmm. You know, that's a question that I think is really difficult to answer, and here's why. It was nearly 30 years ago, and the world was a very different place at
Hmm.
that time. And so the things that I wish that I had known then um, didn't exist for me to know,
Mm.
right? Because so much of what happened in the first, say, 5 years of my transition is work that I and other trans men did to change the nature of social and legal structures to make it more accessible for people to transition.
Preach.
So there isn't really anything that I wish I would have known because I was helping create the models of how to change your name, how to change your driver's license, how to deal with your birth certificate, um, accessing bathrooms, getting rid of laws against, appearing in public as in a different way, dealing with employers and how they were responding to having trans employees. All of that was work that I was doing along with colleagues. Those are things now that I would tell somebody like in the first year, you're going to want to know how to manage your legal and social transition. But that didn't exist.
I forgot one other example of you stalking me was when I was considering transition. I went to the internet. This is pre Google, just looking up things. I may have been through my AOL, and I found this document about how to navigate a men's bathroom, right? And I saved it and I read it a couple times, and it was on my fourth read. I realized it was something you had written, so I didn't even realize the author was you. So yeah, that work you did was sorry, excuse me if you can hear that. I have a very old dog who has a trachea problem. Sorry about that noise. Yeah, so yeah, that stuff that work you did back then, started helping guys immediately. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you wish that you would have known the first year?
I wish I would have known, and there's no way to know this, right? There isn't, but I wish I'd known how happy I was going to be. I put it off for many years because of religious programming and family pressure and just state of the world at the time. I just didn't realize how fun it was going to be authentic in who you are. It's way way more fun to be yourself, and to like looking in the
Indeed.
mirror. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. All right, isn't
Go.
it? Okay.
It's on you.
Who is your queer hero?
Hmm. We're hero. Well, I have a few. Um, One is Billie Jean King,
Mm,
who, I mean, I was a big tennis fan, tennis player when I was a teenager. And, um, growing up being assigned female at birth meant playing on girls' teams at that point in time. And Billie Jean was so instrumental in making Title IX happen and making funding happen for girls and women's sports, and instrumental in getting equal pay for women on the women's pro tour.
Mm.
And then in the midst of all of that, she then also became a queer icon for me, aside from the sports thing, where it's like, even though she wasn't out at that point, when you know, you know.
Wink.
Radar is a thing. So, but then she got sued for palimony by her partner.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, in California. So she was still married to her husband at the time. And then she got sued for palimony by a woman partner that she'd been with for a number of years. And through all of that process, and and now I look back at it in terms of, not only was she in this queer relationship, but then she and her husband had an open marriage and were down with the whole poly thing. Like, he was cool with it.
Oh, I didn't know this. All right.
Yeah, because he was knowledgeable about their relationship. It wasn't that he didn't know, but they decided to stay married, and for whatever reasons, and he was fully supportive of her. Um, so I think that relationship sort of informed a lot of things for me when I was, you know, in my early teens.
In so many.
Um, in so many ways. And then the other person that I really have like strong memories of is Harvey Milk. And,
Mm.
you know, for me, a lot of things ultimately come down to politics because I'm a politics junkie and I'm a history junkie. And my undergrad degree was in political science, which, let's be real, there's not much reason for a poli sci degree unless you're going to go to law school.
Mhm, mhm.
There's not a lot of poli sci jobs out in the world. Unless you're going to teach, then you're off to law school. So, but politics is something that, I mean, I got involved in student government by second grade. So,
Hey, nerd.
um,
Get it.
and I'm a child of the 60s. I grew up during Watergate and the Vietnam War and the women's rights movement and the civil rights movement. So, politics is something that has been part and parcel of my life as long as I can remember. And I remember very clearly when Harvey Milk uh, got shot and killed. And then the ridiculous Twinkie defense
Mm,
that was raised by his killer, which was the whole, I was so high on sugar that's why I killed these two people.
that's why I got a gun, drove to City Hall, walked through City Hall, shot one person, went down the hall, shot another person.
Shot another person because I had too many Twinkies that day. Um, so that also then had a lot to do with my desire around practicing law, because as somebody who knew really early on that I was not like the other kids, um, it was kind of going to be incumbent upon me to change the world that I lived in. Couldn't wait around for somebody else to do it.
Mm, love that. Love that. Okay. Great, great answers. Great answers.
Um, so tell me about your what's the first thing that you remember ever wanting to be as a kid?
Oh, I it was really specific and a little dorky. So I was obsessed with space and astronomy and Star Trek, and my grandfather was involved with the Apollo project as a
Oh, wow.
as an engineer. Yeah. And we didn't find out the extent of his involvement until after he passed away, and it was pretty amazing. He designed the landing gear for the space shuttles. He was on the team that developed the Polaris missile. He figured out when the Apollo project was stalled because they couldn't figure out how to get fuel to work in a gravityless environment. He figured that out. So
Wow.
it was always really cool. Like space was really cool. So I wanted to go into space, but I didn't want to be an astronaut. I wanted to go into space and then I wanted to come back and I wanted to have my own talk show about space. Was that a job I saw? No, it was not. But I was like, there's a need and I can fill it. I can go into space and then I can have my space talk show.
Well, and now you have a talk show, and we
We
can talk about space.
can talk about space.
We can. Absolutely. And the
Now
merits of Star Trek versus Star Wars.
and that is the extent of my knowledge about space is Star Trek or Star Wars. Yeah,
Pretty much the extent of my knowledge is that my dad met Neil Armstrong, and I have a book signed by Neil Armstrong.
that's cool. Yeah. Yeah, we found all my grandfather's like notes and stuff and it was like Buzz says. Yeah, stuff like that. So, I know. I know, look.
Wow, that's cool.
A lot
My
of knowledge.
dad, and see, now we're going off on a tangent because this is what we do. So my dad very much was an explorer person, both he and his younger brother. But my dad um, bought tickets to go on some commercial space flight when that was going to become available at some point. And of course, it never did. And then he's died. He died before this whole business with SpaceX and stuff. But he would have loved to be able to go into space.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I thought Star Trek was just around the corner when I was a kid. I was like, "Oh, I can't wait. I
I
can't."
think we all thought it was just around the corner. I mean, basically, we'd watch stuff as kids, and it would be set in like the year 2120,
You know, like wasn't Back to the Future 2015? Weren't we supposed to be in
something
flying
like that.
cars? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oops. Oops.
So,
Oh,
it should have already happened. Why
yeah.
hasn't it happened yet?
Yeah.
We're
And
behind
then
the
I can have
times.
my space talk show.
Right.
Disappointing.
It
Disappointing.
is.
Yeah. All right. That was three questions. So we have two more for you. Two more for you.
Okay.
Um, what are you most grateful about being trans?
The thing that I'm most grateful for is being able to be a man that doesn't buy into societal messaging about what being a man is all about.
That's good.
Um, I, I find that messaging to be really limiting both to men and to women. It doesn't allow men to be fully actualized human beings and experience everything that they can and should be experiencing. And it informs how cis men, I'm saying, how they interact with and treat and regard women as not being 100% human.
Mhm.
It's always this less than man is the default. That's a societal construct. That's not a real thing. But the other thing that happens, which I'm also really happy about being a trans man, is that cis men get infantilized a lot in our culture. They're, deemed to be incapable of cooking, incapable of keeping a
Hmm.
house, incapable of nurturing children, incapable of even like caring for their own children for 5 minutes without a woman interceding in that. And so it reminds me a little bit of like how the right wing talks about Biden. He's either Sleepy Joe or he's, Dark Brandon and he's accomplishing everything. And so the same sort of dichotomy exists in how I think cis men, particularly cis heterosexual men, are regarded in our culture. They're both all powerful and completely powerless.
Yeah. Bring in the choir. Yes. Preach. And the powerlessness around like certain aspects, right? You know, they can't find anything in the fridge. They don't know how to do a diaper, right?
They don't know
They,
how to grocery shop.
yeah,
They can't meal plan. They don't
right,
know when uh, the kids' medical appointments are. They can't manage their own medical care.
right. Or the, coming from veterinary medicine, it was always the stereotype of like, oh, I hope the dad doesn't come in. He never knows what we're supposed to do. And we're always just like, just call your wife, right? Like, no, you can figure out how to get your dog medicine, right?
Right.
It's
Yeah,
capable. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's that weird, like, both we're gonna tell you that you're all powerful at everything, and then in the same breath tell you don't know how to do anything.
Hmm.
And the nice thing about being a man of trans experience is I don't have to buy into any of that.
Word.
I just
Word.
get to create being the man that I am in the way that I want to do it.
Yeah. I love that. It gives us a perspective on the patriarchy that I think is really unique to us. I always tell people, no, I have no idea what it's like to be a woman. I have no idea, but I know what it's like to be treated as one.
Right.
I have that perspective that I can take into my
Right.
manhood. Right. I understand what the patriarchy does. When you are raised in it and you inherit it and it's all you know, it's a little hard to see. That's a limited perspective. So yeah, I like that. I like that answer. It gives us a
Yeah.
perspective. Yeah. Yeah.
What's been the most surprising thing for you about being a man?
That I I didn't understand just how isolating it is. And we've talked about this before, and there's other
Yeah.
videos there that will just break my heart. I
Yeah.
didn't understand how isolating it was. I didn't understand that I couldn't smile at people in the DMV anymore. I didn't understand that I couldn't say hi to a little kid anymore. I didn't understand um, that we don't talk to each other. Right. So that was the surprising thing. And it's a sad surprise. Um,
Great.
but yeah, I didn't, it was surprising to me how isolating it is.
Yeah.
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 What about you?
Which is why I'm really grateful for friendships like the one that you and I have,
Yeah.
because we are able to laugh at stuff and be completely silly and superficial and really deep and meaningful and emotional and connected. And I think I'm fortunate in that I have a number of trans men that I have that kind of dynamic with, that, and it's vital, absolutely vital to me.
Yes. Yeah, I value our friendship because I was thinking about it. I send you fart joke memes, right? And we talk about vulnerable, hard stuff, right? So like that's the good
Yeah,
stuff. So
yeah, exactly. It's all about
it's all
balance.
about balance. It's all
All
about
about
balance.
the balance.
Yeah.
All about the balance.
Yeah. I'm dying to know what your answer to that is. What was the most surprising thing to you about being a man?
I think for me, the most surprising thing was being seen as a threat.
Yeah.
And, I know probably not everybody has that same experience, right? I think some of it is um, a function of how stereotypically masculine somebody ends up looking and presenting themselves. Um, and we've talked about this some, and I certainly hear this from other men as well, is that, I will, for lack of a better term, I will gay it up if I'm around women and I want them to know that I am a safe person for them to be around.
Yes.
And, I mean, I identify as a queer man. I'm not hetero. I don't exclusively like women, although they are my primary attraction, but I'm not exclusive to that. And growing up as somebody under the LGBTQ umbrella, my enculturation is as a queer person. My politics are queer. My history is queer. So that's part and parcel of who I am. And I'm a Leatherman. And I've been a Leatherman for 40-ish years. So all of that allows me to access that queerness in a way that can put people at ease when what they instinctively might see as like old white straight biker dude possibly with bad politics. It's like, oh no, sweetheart, we're fine,
Girl.
girl, it's all good, you know it's a code switching thing that helps me seem less threatening to certain groups of people. But I remember early on, and I don't know about your experience, but certainly the understanding the rules of I'm walking down the street, there's a woman approaching me, I need to cross the street.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Or if I am going to continue on this path because I can't cross the street, don't look at her, don't smile, don't appear to be threatening, and don't slow down, keep moving,
Yep. Yep.
give as wide a berth as possible.
Yep. The elevator thing. If an elevator opens and it's just a single woman, or we're both waiting, I will literally fake that I'm on the phone to go so she can have the elevator to herself. Or if
Exactly.
she's already in there, I will get as close to the front of the elevator as possible. If she's in the back, so
Exactly.
I'm not behind her. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
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 I've
All
even
those
told women
little
in a parking
little
garage that
things.
I'm behind them. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna walk around you and I'll speed up so she doesn't have to hear me behind her. Right. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And you're a taller guy. I'm not particularly tall. I'm like 5'6", but I carry myself like I'm 6'2". And I'm a beefy guy. So I'm aware that my size can also feel intimidating to people.
Yeah. I say this about Spencer before, that you're 5'6", but you cast the shadow of a 9-foot Viking, right? There's just presence.
Yeah.
And so if a woman sees you, it's a sad fact.
Yeah.
We can fight against that, or we can support women who don't feel safe around guys who.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Yeah. At some point you're going to have to tell your story on the show about coming around the corner um, with your crazy look on your face of
Oh, yeah. Male privilege. Yeah. Just
yeah,
look
yeah,
sane. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. All right, one more question.
Yeah. All right. All right. One more question for you. And this is a really hard one. And I hope you're
Okay,
ready.
okay,
Think hard about this.
okay.
Who is your favorite drag queen from RuPaul's Drag Race?
Oh my God,
And
you
listen, I'll
can't
check with
make
the
me answer
producers.
that
Let
question.
me check with the producers. Yes, I will allow a top three, maybe.
Okay, all right, okay, good. Because there's no way I can just do one. It's
The
impossible. And I have favorites for so many different reasons. Um,
this is a hard question.
it is a hard question. Well, hometown girl, Jinx Monsoon,
Okay, we love Jinx.
because we love Jinxie, and you know the brilliance in improv and performance is what does it for me with Jinx.
I like her story that she's chipped a tooth LARPing. That's my favorite Jinx.
Right? Like you gotta love that.
Yeah. All right.
Um,
So Jinxie. Okay.
so Jinxie, I'm gonna say Trixie and Katja as one person.
Okay.
I'm gonna
Okay.
count them as one person
Team.
because I can. because
Yep.
I can.
Yep.
So there.
Yeah. All right.
I can't pick a top three. I need like a top 10.
I'm sorry, that's not an option.
Rude. Um, Sasha Colby.
Babe.
That
Okay.
would be my third.
Okay.
One, first trans woman to win a regular season.
Woo.
Um, Native Hawaiian, and Hawaii is like my second favorite place on the planet.
Yay.
And and you know the thing about Sasha that I loved so much was how smart her drag is. So smart and polished.
Quality.
And I am a sucker for somebody who can walk a runway really slowly
Okay.
and command attention the entire.
She
That
does.
is Sasha Colby for me.
That is presence. That is
And
professional.
she's ridiculously hot. Come on.
She's a babe. Stone cold. That's a
Okay.
good.
So what's your top three?
Oh, come on. I can't just pick three.
Well, you made me pick three,
All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. Okay. Not in any particular order. This is not ranked. Uh Raja, our girl Roger. She is beautiful in and out of drag. She is intelligent. She is weird as AF. I
she's
love her.
mystical as hell. Like
Mystical.
she's got to like touch your whole little woo heart, right?
Oh, her woo-woo-ness, yes. Do I want to sit around Bali in a caftan with her? Absolutely. Just hold court, Raja. Just talk. I'll listen. I'll take
Right?
notes. Yeah.
Her voice is so.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
such a great voice to listen to.
And really actually funnier than I think people give her credit for. Like she's funny.
Her speech during All Star 7 when they were doing the commencement speeches, I had to keep pausing. Every time we rewatch it, I have to keep pausing because I'm laughing so hard.
So smart, self-deprecating in the right way. Yeah,
Yeah,
she's an icon. Yes. So I
and
love me some Miss
Tony.
Rock. Yeah. Um, I oh God, yeah. Trixie and Katya, probably as a
They're like
team.
one person. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah. And then number three, man, do I go hometown with Lady Camden? Do I go heritage with Rose because she's a good Scot like I am? Do I go Bend de la Creme because I met her once?
you know, have you ever noticed that Bendela Crem's look is almost a direct copy of Indigo Blues?
No. What? Really?
Yeah, so like if you lined up Indigo Blue, Ben de la Creme, and Michelle Visage, it's like who's who?
But really, because Michelle Visage has got that Jersey trashy hot.
Yeah, but like there are moments where like Michelle's look is so Dela, which is so
Indigo.
Indigo.
All right. Well, now I have homework. Okay. All right. Number three. I love. Oh man, I love Monet. I love
Right?
Ano. Um, I'm gonna say Bianca Del Rio because there's nothing that she says that I don't just die over. So
True. Did you like the meme I sent you that she had posted on Instagram yesterday? The Lady
no.
Bunny one?
Oh my God. With Trump's, yes.
Yeah, with Trump's
Shade with her and
mugshot.
Lady Bunny. That's its own show. I
That's
mean, yeah.
its own show. Yeah.
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 All right. So I'm going to ask you one more question because I just piggybacked off of your question, but I have one more question for you.
Hit it.
Fries or onion rings?
Fries, onions are disgusting and should be outlawed, along with Brussels sprouts. There's no need for that kind of hatred in this world.
Good to
There's
know.
that is some darkness that we don't need. I am only here for the light. I'm only here for positivity, Spencer. So you come at me with this negativity. I don't know what's
So
wrong.
home fries, crinkle cut, uh, skinny little fries, regular fries, waffle fries, curly fries.
Oh, I love a curly fry because it's almost not a fry. It's almost its own thing, right?
Yeah,
Like a
yeah,
curly fry is like a special fry.
it is. It
That's like a
really
holiday
is.
fry. Yeah. So a curly fry seasoned, that's delicious. But I won't turn down a fry. Home fries are delicious. Waffle fries are interesting. The only place I know that has waffle fries is the place with the chicken sandwiches, and I'm not going there.
Yeah, we
Um,
no hate chicken.
no. So yeah, I'm gonna say a curly fry. Yeah,
Curly fries are good.
yeah. But here's a follow-up to that for you.
Hmm.
Breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Not fry related, just the meal.
Breakfast for dinner.
Oh shit. He came in sideways. All right. I like it.
Yeah, yeah, it's my favorite. All right, so we don't have outro music, but
La la la
uh,
la 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 la. Keep talking. Keep talking. Talk us out. I'm gonna do this.
so we'll be back with episode two,
La, la.
and we'll have more information on finding us on Patreon and what streaming podcast services you'll be able to find us on in the future. And yeah, so we'll be back again soon.
Yes,
And thanks
listen.
for being
Here's my last thing. We're
okay.
making this up as we go. So
Right.
we're completely open to feedback and
Right.
ideas and questions. If you want your question read on the
Yeah,
next
send us
episode,
questions.
let us know. Yeah.
Yeah,
We have a lot
we're
of
happy to
opinions
answer.
and we're both brilliant. So
Absolutely limitless intelligence here.
yes, we might be invited to speak at the UN soon. So get in with us now.
Absolutely. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Until next time, everyone.
That's Trans Dad.
Uncle
I'm your
Drew.
be cool.